I've got 10 things you need to know about Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and trust me, you do not want to miss a single one. The first thing is that it's a first-person shooter developed by Massive Entertainment, the Swedish Ubisoft studio behind The Division and Far Cry 3, so there should be a lot of quality baked into the game. If you take these two titles and throw them into an Avatar setting and characters, you're probably not too far away from the end result. Some people have even gone so far as to say it's Far Cry Blue, but that sounds like a ratings nightmare, so maybe Far Cry Blue Peeps is more accurate, but then it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. There are plenty of opportunities to run and gun, but then you'll also need to go stealth for some sequences, and while the assault rifles, shotties and occasional RPGs are pretty powerful, it looks like there's going to be a lot of emphasis on Navi weaponry, so expect to use your bow, spear and sling a lot. This gives Avatar Frontiers of Pandora some parallels with Far Cry Primal, and with the big beasts of Pandora running around, there's a lot to be said for the comparison. Although in all fairness, the RDA mech suits throw in hints of the Horizon games, which also relied on a lot of primal weaponry. But we'll get back to that comparison a little bit later on. The second thing you need to know is that it kind of looks like it's going to be pretty easy to get a bit lost in the lush forests and grasslands of the Western frontier. However, you'll get a mission early on where you'll get to bond with your own Ekron, or Mountain Banshee as the RDA call them. With your own private four-eyed pterodactyl to call at any point in the game, you'll always be able to get up on high to be able to see where you're going a bit better. Seriously, you can call on it when you want, so even during combat, so it's one of the most important mechanics in the game. Can't see where you're going? Call your Ekron. Swamped by enemies? Call your Ekron. Want to get up to one of the Sky Islands to upgrade your Zonai battery? Call your Ekron. Need to see the horizon at dawn? Anyway, you get the point. In addition to flying on an Ekron, you'll also get a dire horse or pally to ride on when you make it to the grasslands of the upper plains, so you'll have plenty of options for traversal. You also get to name your Ekron, but sadly it isn't free choice, so gliding McGlideface is not going to work. Instead, there are some predetermined options to choose from, ranging from Navi names like Tamek and Nimon to overly nutty options like Storm, Fury and Floof, whatever that means, or the totally random inclusion of Carol. Number 3 on my list of things you need to know about Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is that it takes place in a massive open world with 3 main areas to explore. You'll start out in the western frontier, which is all green rainforests and floating mountains, and then you'll travel to the upper plains, which is the grasslands biome. Finally, you'll make it to the clouded forest with its massive redwood-like trees. However, each of these will be plagued by the RDA, which results in scarred landscapes and dark industrial facilities, which will be your responsibility to tear down. From what we've seen, it looks like the resources you get from these areas will improve over time as it returns to normal. That means you'll be able to return and see how Pandora heals itself to reclaim the land once you smash the stinking filthy humans in the face a few times. And talking about the filthy stinking humans, I'm pretty sure we're the baddies, by the way. Number 4 is that Avatar Frontiers of Pandora introduces a whole new story with a brand new villain. You'll play a young Navi that's captured by the RDA 15 years ago and trained to be one of them. The project is led by John Mercer, one of the leaders of the RDA and the villain in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, but when things go south with the Battle of the Hallelujah Mountains in the first Avatar film, he closes the operation down and initiates his own version of Order 66. However, you get saved by your instructor and put into cryosleep until you wake up 15 years later at a similar timeline to Avatar: The Way of the Water. As you return to Navi life and start to get your revenge on the RDA, we're expecting Mercer to fire back with his own crushing might. He's essentially the Avatar Frontiers of Pandora's equivalent of Colonel Quaritch from the films, or Far Cry Blue Peeps' Vas Montenegro. If you play the Far Cry games, then you'll know that the villain is a massive part of the setup, so hopefully John Mercer is just as impactful as Joseph Seed or Pagan Min were. Okay, so number 5 is that Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is also a first-person platformer with hints of Super Mario about some of the gameplay mechanics. It's all built around the plants of Pandora, and while there are no power mushrooms, there are bouncy fungi, speed boost foliage, climber vines, and catapult leaves that can hurl you much further than your standard Navi jump. As you're exploring on foot in the jungle or climbing up one of the floating mountain islands, keep an eye out for the plants that you can use to help you along the way. You're going to get your own Ikran pretty early on, which will become your go-to mode for transport, but this won't always be the best option, so you'll definitely find that the plant movement boosts will come in handy. There may not be any Assassin's Creed parkour options, and Breath of the Wild climbing is out, but you can always rely on a bouncy plant to get you up to the castle to take on Bowser. While the platforming is straight out of the Miyamoto playbook, the hunting and gathering system is more James Cameron. It's okay to hunt the animals of Pandora, but you'll need to say a parting farewell to them each and every time. This definitely makes things more considerate to the wildlife, but it's probably going to get a bit tedious in the end. However, it'll probably make us all stick to the only taking what we need from nature, which is a good thing in our book. In addition to the post-kill words of respect, you'll also need to use your Navi weapons to ensure it's a clean kill against any of the wildlife that you find. If you blast off a clip on your assault rifle at a pack of Thanators, then you'll just spoil the meat and pelts, so you won't be able to use any of the resources. The gathering system is also more challenging than you might expect, and you'll need to tilt the controls to get the right angle to pick plants that you want to get. All of this might get a bit grating, but it looks like the benefits are going to outweigh the negatives, which leads on to number 7 on our list, which is that there's an RPG style system built into the game around crafting and cooking options to boost everything from speed to health and attacks. This adds to the Sky Islands to give Avatar Frontiers of Pandora yet another capped off to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. There's probably no sick grandmaster cure, but it's still going to be fun experimenting with the different options. Weapons and armor are going to have stats too, so you're going to need to hunt them down to find the best ones. There's also a skill tree to enhance your capabilities, so it's going to be a good idea to get a few perks in early. The gameplay difficulty doesn't look that tough to begin with, but it's bound to get more challenging later on, so you're going to need all the skills you can get, plus a few mighty meat dishes to be able to breeze through Avatar Frontiers of Hylia. In at number 8, we've got ammo customization, which we've seen that you'll be able to change standard Navi ammo into elemental attacks. You could say that it's another hint of Breath of the Wild, but it's actually more Horizon Zero Dawn or Forbidden West when you look at the wider range of weaponry. Instead of it just being the bow and arrow, you'll also have a spear thrower and a staff sling, which are similar to Aloy's weapon wheel options. It doesn't look like it's going to be all that important in the first few hours of gameplay, although fire arrows do one-shot RDA mech walkers, which comes in handy. However, this hints at more elemental variation later on in the game. The question is how you're going to be able to work out the elemental variations of different enemies. In Horizon you use Aloy's scanner, but things are a little less technical for the Navi main character that you get to create in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, which leads us to number 9 on our list, which is Navi Sense. This is a similar feature to Eagle Sense in Assassin's Creed games, so you can see enemies behind objects, helping you to plan out your attacks to shut down the RDA facilities or tracking a creature that you're hunting for crafting resources or food in the wild. You can also use Navi Sense to see your objective marker, which looks a bit like a series of rough scratches on the screen. This will come in handy if you get a bit lost or you're just not too sure about where you need to go next. However, if there's something big in between you and the marker, then it can get you into trouble. In this situation, you're probably better off getting on your Ikran to be able to get some height to see where you need to go, as we mentioned earlier. Another big tip is that when you're in Navi Sense, you can inspect things further to find out more about them if you're close enough to the object. Inspecting a creature in the wild, for example, will tell you what they are and the resources that you can get from them with a clean kill. We're hoping that we'll also get to use this to identify elemental weaknesses, which we touched on in number 8. And in at number 10, the good news is that Avatar Frontiers of Pandora supports online co-op, so you can play with a friend. This can be for support for the main story missions, or just to explore the massive open world Pandora setting with a second set of eyes to spot anything cool. It also looks like you're going to get a fair few random encounters in the wild, so there should be a lot of opportunities for casual play together. That kind of sounds way more Jack Whitehall than it was meant to, so moving swiftly on, my bonus tip is that you'll have access to smoke bombs, so don't forget to use them. You can fire them at enemies like the RDA mech walkers to break the line of sight, which will allow you to get into a better spot to be able to take them down. Drop a comment to let me know what you think about Avatar Frontiers of Pandora and my top 10 things you need to know before you buy. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already with the link on the left hand side. You can also see more of my videos for Avatar Frontiers of Pandora as I load them up with the links on the right hand side, and I will catch you later.